Hello my friends, welcome to this new video. Today I'm really excited because I have created a very complete workflow that can handle everything about the booking process. It starts with getting the information from the user, then checks if the information is sufficient, then checks availability on the calendar for the requested time slots, and then creates the payment request, updates the database about the request and the payment status, and then notifies the user about each step of the process. Then when payment is done, again the database is updated, an event is booked on the calendar, and the AI agent handles notifying the user. So this is the most complete process about booking that you can ever find throughout the web. I'm really excited to share this workflow with you, and in the next steps I'm going to dive deep into each step of the process. Okay, so we begin with a Gmail node here in our process. So this Gmail node monitors our email address. Here is aiflowstudio@gmail.com. Then after having this Gmail trigger node, I've got a conditional statement, an if node in n8n, and I said that get json.from and make sure that it's not equal to aiflowstudio.com. That is because I don't want my email to loop on a thread reply. So I just want to make sure that the emails are not from AI Flow Studio. Then here, this is the part about the first AI agent. So we use this AI node to process the incoming email requests and extract the key information such as the customer's name, desired date and time for the appointment. As you can see, the AI agent has got a chat model, which is OpenAI chat model. It has got a memory, and also an output parser. This is one of the greatest features of AI agents, that they can have an output structured in a specific format. So here my format is, I said you have to get the customer name, the type string, customer email address, again another string, customer phone number, and appointment date and time. The type is a string. So here for appointment date and time, I've got a pattern. This is a regular expression. You can search that in ChatGPT and get this. It says that there are 4 digits, then dash, then two other digits, then dash, then again two other digits. This is the example of here. We've got 4 digits for year, two for month, days, and then hour, minute, and second. So this is the structured output parser for AI agents. So when we have a structured output parser, our agent produces and actually creates 4 fields for us, not just one text. Now the agent is a functions agent, and the text I've given the JSON snippet, the email text that the user has sent, and also the JSON from the actual email address of the sender. I give these two pieces into the AI agent, and as a system message, I say that the agent has to extract specified fields from an input email, outputting the extracted information in a single flat JSON format. This is the important part in creating the agents. The prompt is really important. You can copy this exact prompt, pause the video, and use it in your agent. I've told the agent that the fields to extract from the email are customer name, phone number, customer email address, and appointment date and time. So here, after getting the email and starting the workflow, our AI agent creates these structured output formats, and here in an unconditional statement, an if node, I use it to make sure that all the required information has been sent in the original email. So here I say JSON output customer name, make sure that it's not empty, and the appointment date and time is not empty, and also the customer email address is not empty. I'm checking that in this if node. If even one of these pieces of information is empty, so it continues in the false, and we send an email actually to our user. So here the resource is thread and the operation is reply. We want to reply back to the user. So we need the thread ID and the message ID that we can get it from the Gmail trigger in the first node. So the Gmail trigger, we have the thread ID, and again from the node Gmail trigger we get the ID, the chat ID actually. And also for the message here, I've written something like, unfortunately, we are missing some details to be able to process your appointment request. Please reply with the following information: full name, phone number, date and time, appointment. So after this, if all the information is extracted by the AI agent successfully, and this if node passes the true part, it goes into Google Calendar check. In this part, we are checking the availability of that time to see if we're not busy. So I just connect my Google Calendar credentials here, and the resource is calendar, the operation is availability. So when I choose my calendar, the start time is JSON, output appointment date and time. This is the exact thing that the AI agent produces in the output parser. And for the end time, I want to say actually the time that the user requested plus 1 hour. So this is the JavaScript code that I have written here. We are creating a new date object, and you can again pause the video here and copy the exact code. This is the JSON output appointment date and time plus 1 hour in milliseconds here. Okay, so for Google Calendar check, we need to give the start and end time to do so that this node can tell us if we are available or not. And by doing so, our workflow continues and goes to the if nodes. Here we again have a check. We use an if node to check if the desired time slot is available. So if the result of the available JSON.available, which is produced in the previous node in Google Calendar check, is equals to true, we go on. We continue, and if it is false, we send an email to our customer. Again here, we use the thread ID and the message ID, which we get it from the Gmail trigger in the beginning of the workflow, because we want to reply back to the user in the exact node and thread as a reply. So here I've written that, hi, the following date and time you have asked for is not available. And then I'm showing the time. So please try another time. But if the time slot is available, we move forward and we actually generate a Stripe payment link for the deposit amount. Here you have to use an HTTP request node in n8n with the method post and the URL of actually Stripe with your credentials set. So for this, you can read the documents in n8n in order to see how you can use a Stripe API. This is totally easy and you can configure it out. So in the next node, after creating the Stripe URL link, we want to store the payment link information. So this node will store all the payment link information attached to the customer in a Google Sheet. I've got a Google Sheet here that you can see it. So I've got some columns like ID, customer name, customer email address, phone number, appointment date and time, and also the end time, the URL, which is produced for a Stripe, the Gmail thread ID, message ID, payment status, and also payment and email confirmation. So here in this Google Sheet node, actually I set my credentials for my Google Sheet accounts, and the operation is append row. So the resources sheet within document, and the operation is append rows. So we want to append one row to our Google Sheet whenever this workflow runs and whenever we have a new request. So we choose our Google Sheet and we map columns mode manually. So for ID in our Google Sheet, we use JSON.id, and for the customer name, email, phone number, and date and time, we use the output of our AI agent, the first AI agent actually, like what you can see here, and the end time, we talked about it. And also the URL is the JSON.URL. We get it from the previous node in HTTP request to Stripe. So we have the Gmail thread ID, message ID, and also for payment status, we hard code something like payment link sent. We can type whatever we want here. This is the first status of the payment. Okay, so we updated our Google Sheet and appended one row. Then we need to pass the data to another AI agent. So here we use an AI node to compose a personalized and natural language email to the customer. So we include the Stripe payment link and confirmation of their booking in the email. So here we've got a conversational agent, and for the text we say we have an appointment available for, this is the appointment date and time. To secure the booking, please pay a £10 deposit here. And this is the link that we got from Stripe. So here in system message, it's important to say the objective to the AI agent, that you have to formulate an email reply to a customer who has booked an appointment. The input is the original booking email request, and the output format is reply to the customer email confirming that we have received their booking request and they should pay £10 deposit using the following link. So we have some instructions for the AI. We tell it that make it friendly, call them by the first name, and whatever you like, you can put it here so that the AI agent understands what kind of email you want to create. And also I've put an example here so the agent can make the email easily. So when the email is created, we have a Gmail node to send the text to the user, again to the same thread ID, the message ID, and the text is what we get from the previous node, json.output. And also I've got the sender name AI Flow Studio. So this is the first part of the workflow that is started from a Gmail trigger that the user sent us some information. Now in the second part of our workflow, we've got a Stripe trigger. This is a node in n8n, which is really useful here. So when a Stripe payment is done, this workflow starts again. So we've got two triggers in our workflow. This is the second one. And when the actually trigger starts, we check payment requests. This is a Google Sheet node that we use. Operation is get rows from AI Flow Studio payment request, the same Google Sheet that we checked. And also we have to filter that the column ID is the same as JSON data object payment link. We want to get that specified actually row of our Google Sheet, which is related to the exact customer. So when we get that row in our Google Sheet, we check if the ID exists. This is just for checking and making sure. And when the ID exists in our Google Sheet, we update our payment status. So the operation is append or update row from the same Google Sheets, and actually we map each column manually. And also for ID we have the JSON ID. We don't change the other fields because we don't need to change them or update them. Just the payment, the status is important here. We change it to a Stripe trigger. This is actually the payment status that Stripe gives us when triggering our workflow. So Stripe trigger, JSON data object, payment status. We update it like this. And also we actually save and store the dates, payment and email confirmation dates here in this field. So when we update our Google Sheets, then we need to book our appointment on our calendar. So here we understand that the customer has paid the deposit amount, so we have to book the appointment on our calendar. So here again, this is a Google Calendar node. We set our credentials, the resource is event, and the operation is create. We choose our calendar. The start is the time taken from a Stripe ID, the trigger node, so appointment date and time, and also for the end time we used JSON appointment date and time end. This is what we get from our Google Sheet node, the start and end of the request. So attendees can be the customer email address, and for the description I've given here hi, the name of the customer. If you want to cancel your appointment, please contact us on, this is a number, the deposit is non-refundable. Kind regards, AI Flow Studio. So this is the event that I'm setting on the calendar for myself and also for my user in the attendees part. The location is AI Flow Studio, and also show me as busy, and also a summary. The summary is appointment dash customer name. For example, appointment John Doe. Okay, after creating the event on our calendar, we use the last AI node here. So we want to employ this AI node to compose a final confirmation email to the customer, including all the details of their booked appointment. So here, this is a conversational agent. The text here is, this customer has successfully booked an appointment with AI Flow Studio and paid their £10 deposit. We've got the customer name and also the date and time. And for the system message, I say the objective to formulate an email reply to the customer who has booked an appointment that they fully paid their deposit. And we've got the customer information as input. So the output is a kind of text that we want to send to our customers to reply to the customer confirming that their appointment has been booked, and we look forward to seeing them. So here I've got some other information and some examples, and at the end I send the text to the user, to our customer, through the Gmail node. This is the last node in this workflow. So again, I set my credentials for Gmail. The resource is thread, reply, and the thread ID, the message ID, text, and everything that we have in our workflow is set here. And now this is the time to test our wonderful workflow. So I start with sending an email to the email address for AI Flow Studio. So I use my other email address, and let me copy the text here. I would like to book an appointment for 16th of March 2025 at 10, and my phone number is the number. So first let's check if the data is not enough. Let's see what happens in this scenario. So I'm going to send this email to AI Flow Studio. Now let's see if the workflow triggers and what happens. And yes, the workflow is triggered and succeeded. Let's check the data in the workflow. As you can see, the data is passed to the AI agent, but because the conditional statement checks that the data is not empty, we don't have the appointment date and time, it is null, so it goes down and it sends an email to the user. So let's check our email. Yeah, I've got a reply on the same thread. It says, unfortunately, we are missing some details to process your request. And now let's send the correct data. And see what happens. Yeah, our workflow is triggered again. And let's see the execution. It is finished, succeeded. And as you can see, the data passes all the steps. It checks that the data is sufficient. And the final email is sent to the user. Let's check our inbox. And here we have an email from AI Flow Studio generated totally by AI. It says, thank you for your appointment request. We're pleased to confirm that we have received your booking for March 16th at 10. So to secure your booking, please pay a £10 deposit using the following link. This is great. So let's do the payment and see what happens afterwards. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to insert my email address, and for the card I use my data. And I press pay. This is my test Stripe account. Okay, the payment is done. Now again, let's check our workflow to see if it is triggered or not. Yeah, it is triggered. Just 1 second after the payment is done, and as you can see here, yeah, in this execution, the Stripe trigger is started. Payments are done. The Google Sheet is updated. A booking, an event is booked on the calendar, and the finalized email is sent to the user. Now let's check our inbox again. So I've got an invitation appointment. So it says that the appointment is booked on my calendar. So it has all the data. Everything is really nice here. And at the end, I've got an email that says, we are delighted to confirm that your appointment is successfully booked for March 16th. So we can test this workflow with different scenarios, like, for example, if someone tries to book the same time slot, so our workflow completely handles all scenarios related to booking. And believe me, this is the most complete and the most practical workflow for the booking process, and different businesses can use that. I hope you have enjoyed watching the video, so please comment on the video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.